Hi there, my name is Monique Guild, and welcome to my TV show here, Conversations with Monique Guild. And today I have an extraordinary guest, Walter O'Brien, who, I was reading your bio, and it's like, wow, I have to literally read from the bio to read your bio, because it's just so exquisite. You're a child prodigy with an IQ of 197. The United States government awarded you an extraordinary ability EB-1-1 visa as an individual whose business and technical skills are of national interest to this country. And we said earlier that Albert Einstein and Winston Churchill were the other two people since 1945 that were awarded the same visa by the United States government, and you're another person who was awarded this visa as well because of your abilities being a national interest to this country, which is, when you really sit and think about that, you have amazing, extraordinary abilities, needless to say, which we'll get into. I gotta lighten it up here a little bit, because it just goes from there.
I had to find some good excuse to get into better weather here than where I came from.
Yes, being from Ireland, it would be a little chilly, to say the least, and rainy, too.
And wet, yeah.
Yeah, very wet and rainy, so anything to get in over here. But anyway, so you really had to develop some skills. And then going on, it says you have a degree in artificial intelligence and computer science. You're first in this country in high-speed computer problem solving for 3 years running?
Well, my own country. So I was first in Ireland for 3 years.
Okay.
And then the highest ranking I had was 6th in the world.
So you're 6th in the world in computer programming.
At one point, yeah, 1993.
In 1993.
I just went to the World Olympics as well.
Yeah.
Believe it or
and
not.
You ranked
they do have an Olympics in
computer programming.
In informatics, yeah, computers.
And you ranked 6th out of that. Is that?
That was the highest ranking I had, yeah.
That was the highest ranking, which is just absolutely, wow. It's amazing, and it's amazing. And then your first computer you actually got when you were how old?
It was like a year later, I guess I was 11 years old or 12.
And then by 13, you were programming,
writing my own games, helping my friends, training other people, and then, the local banks in Ireland were getting the very first computers in. And there were banks and accountancy centres and agencies that were mostly subsidiaries of English companies. And the problem was, if anything went wrong, no one there knew computers.
Right.
Anything as simple as, a ribbon running out on a printer, or they couldn't back up a bad floppy disk or something like that. So all they have to do is wait for some guy very expensively to come from England in a few weeks and fix it, or give the local kid a shot at it. So local kid had a shot at it, and they liked what I did, and they started paying me a lot more than my pocket money was. So every lunchtime I'd come down from high school and I'd have a sandwich in one hand and a bunch of hard drives in the other, and I'd be backing up bank software and automating stuff and fixing stuff, which was great because these were computers I could mess with that I didn't have time to, didn't have the money to buy.
Right, and you were 13.
Yeah.
This is all at the age of 13. That's amazing.
So that's when the company started, and I started hiring friends to grow and help me help more customers.
Right. So at that time then, so your company's growing, you've got more and more coming in, and at what point did you start Scorpion Computers?
That was at 13.
At 13 is when you actually...
Yeah, at the end of 13 we were so busy. I created the company and got some help, and I was also at that point creating a mini university to start, because now everyone was getting computers, everyone wanted to know how to use them, they wanted their kids to know how to use them, they had secretaries that would have lost their job if someone didn't convert them from a typewriter to a word processor. So everything I sold, they turned right around back on me and said, well, who's going to train us on how to use this?
Right.
So I accidentally, again, had to kind of start a school for that. And that school turned into a little bit of working with gifted children and prodigies and stuff.
We were talking about that earlier, about child prodigies and the dilemma that a child prodigy goes through. How do you mentor child prodigies, and how do you incorporate them into the world, and so on and so forth?
Oh, good question. Well, there's a few things in that. I've worked with prodigies as I got better at accepting that I was one, which I didn't accept for a long time. And I started seeing traits in them that I knew that I had. And as I became more aware, self-aware, and understood psychology a little better, I was able to kind of break down what was going on and be able to explain it in a more logical way. And in general, there's been a number of studies, and a famous one, the name escapes me right now, where they took about, I think, 100 prodigies at a very young age and then followed them throughout their entire lifetime. The study, I think, started in the 50s, to see what would happen to them. How many would get married, how many would finish school, how many would be happy, and things like that. And it was devastating results, not typical demographic. Very few married, very few happy, 20% suicide rate, that kind of thing. It wasn't very hopeful. So very few prodigies end up actually being very, very happy or having a normal, adjusted life.
Why is that?
Well, I think once you go probably much above 150 in IQ, it starts becoming a disability rather than an ability, because it really is speaking a foreign language. You can't communicate at normal rates or explain anything you're thinking to anyone around you.
Right.
And that becomes very isolating.
Yes.
So folks with higher and higher prodigies, up to 200 and beyond, are almost vegetables. They can barely speak. They stutter most of their words. They have no communication skills. They can't explain anything they're thinking. So unless they're put in a back room focused on a math problem, they really don't have any ability to shine, nor are they employable. They have no personality, no personable skills for communicating with other people. So the kids that I worked with were from 3 to 16 years old. And part of what I understood, and there's been some good books and some good work on studies on this, is that prodigies tend to form a tree of knowledge about what they know, as do most people. The difference is they tend to have a curiosity, very strong curiosity, almost OCD level curiosity, where once they learn or discover something new, they either care about it or they don't. If they care about it, they will keep drilling down to the point of almost being an expert in it, or certainly above average knowledge. And they do that on everything they care about. So their tree of knowledge, all the branches are equal depth. Now, the biggest mistake a prodigy keeps making is they just assume everyone must be just like them.
Right.
And to them, the brain is a very physical thing, the same as you assume everyone else will have 2 legs and 2 arms and 2 eyes, because that's what you've seen and that's what you have. And you see everything in color, so you assume everyone else sees everything in color. And the biggest problem a prodigy has is they're not like everyone else, and it's very hard for them to accept that, especially when they meet other people in casual circumstances and they talk to them a bit about something they're interested in, something they've learned to the nth degree. And that other person who's not a prodigy corrects them. They made a mistake on something, or that person knows something a little deeper. So now they assume, since that person must be like them and that person knows more about them on this subject, that person must know more about them on every subject. And now they've got all these people saying, oh, you're a prodigy, you're great, you're smart, blah, blah, blah. And they're walking around where every second person they meet seems to be smarter than them. And that's a huge dichotomy for a kid to deal with.
Right.
And what actually happens is other people's tree branches and tree depths are random based on life experience. They're random depths. They care about things to different levels. And they happen to know one area deeper than the others, but maybe everything else they know barely anything about. But the prodigy doesn't know that. They assume if they're smarter in one area, just like them, they must be smarter at everything.
My gosh. So is there an inferiority complex that's always running, or?
It's more insecurity, I think, than inferiority, but there's a fine line between the two.
Right. Gosh, you're very fortunate that you fell into something that completely suits you.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, really fortunate. I think of the kids.
I don't know what else I would do.
Yeah. I think of the kids that are out there that have this ability, but they haven't found their niche of what their ability absolutely isn't. I mean, do you have any guidance for anyone with this sort of conflict going on?
Not great guidance, other than I've been absolutely lucky that I fell into just the right industry at just the right time.
Right.
And I never forget that. At least half my success is due to lucky timing.
Right.
The only thing I can recommend to other people is no job is like the job description says it is. No position entails what they promise you it'll entail in the interview. So if you sit back saying, I don't know what to do, and you end up not taking any job because of it,
Right.
you're better off tossing the dice and have 10 different jobs in the most different industries you can find. And at least then you've progressed because you've either decided, now I know definitely what I don't want to do,
Right.
which narrows the field down,
Right.
or you'll accidentally discover that you love something that on the surface of it, you'd never in a million years think you'd do.
Right, right.
So on.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence and then go into the B2B. That
Well,
would be-
just to
Yeah.
explain kind of where
Sure,
it fits.
sure.
There's basic computing up to what I call the computer science aspect of things, which is building things mechanically and well, and they do what they're designed to do, and they follow the procedures they're supposed to follow. And from there forward, there is what most people think about with artificial intelligence, the sci-fi, robotic being that looks sort of, you can't tell the difference between that and a human being, the Terminator type scenario. Well, between basic computer science and AI, there's a large spectrum of slightly smarter than the average bear type software that adapts and is customizable and modifies itself and can survive change and so on. And that is kind of the AI world I live in, the practical application of slightly smarter than average computing, where maybe you need it because you have a slightly harder than average problem.
But how does your mind think that way and so expansively in order to see all facets of this entire situation that you're dealing with?
Well, one way of looking at it is that my mind is trained to be very lazy, similar to most computer folks, that anything I need to do, I should probably write a program to do it so I don't have to do it twice. And anything that requires a lot of brain burning and thinking, I should probably write a computer program to do it for me. So computing is a lot about efficient laziness, where if I can get everything else to do everything for me, then hopefully I'll have less to do.
But is there ever going to be anything less of, I know you, and you will never stop learning and growing and changing and doing, so there's no way you could ever say that you're lazy. I mean, you're always going to be creating new programs and new things because you're constantly growing as a human being.
True, but learning and growing is a lot more fun than repeating yourself.
How far does this industry want to go? I mean, do you want to literally create a robot who can absolutely simulate a human being in feeling, emotion, intelligence, and creativity? I mean, can you do that? Can a robot? You're smiling.
Well, I'm smiling because depending on points of view, and you, as you mentioned earlier, we have very different points of view on things.
Yes.
Some of the feeling and emotion would be considered defects, so we may not want to reproduce those. I'm taking a hard line here. Well, you don't want the robot feeling tired or feeling ambitious or feeling bored.
Right.
Because then they'll probably want to go out and design another robot to do their job so they can retire, like the people who built them.
So no feeling emotional robots
So,
whatsoever.
well, it depends on the application. Maybe there are. If
But
you
would
want a
there ever
robot to
be-
write poetry, you might want that.
Would we want that? I mean, is it capable? I mean, are we capable of designing a robot who could, of course, write poetry, but have feeling and emotion? Can they actually experience and then write poetry based on that new experience?
They can, but it just means you mathematically break down what is experience, what is poetry, what is iambic pentameter, what is their vocabulary, and what is rhyming, and they'll spit out poetry all day long. And whether that's the same as a poet or not is completely arguable. And that's the whole point of AI, is almost any one specific thing a human can do. We can get a computer to do the same thing. The question is there anything magic about a wetware biology robot doing it, which is a human being?
Wetware?
Wetware instead of software.
I don't know what
Blood, corpuscles, chemicals in the body.
you call that. Wetware?
That's wetware.
Okay.
You're a wetware robot. And so you got the wetware robot
that right
and the
now.
hardware robot. And the question is, if both of you went out and experienced walking in the park with a bunch of daisies and then came back and sat down and wrote a poem with words from the dictionary that you know that happen to rhyme nicely in the right places, who's to say one of you has feelings and one doesn't, or one of you has put their soul and essence into the poetry and the other one hasn't? They both produced poetry, they both went to the park, they both did the same thing. So it all depends on the viewpoint.
Right. Wow. I mean, that's fascinating when you really start to think about it. And because you really can break down without the human emotion attached, which is what you would prefer, really, without having any human emotion attached. I mean,
Very little advantage to the human emotion.
why do you say that?
Well, again, it depends. Most applications of computing, from those that can afford to fund it, are military, government, or industrial. Three places there were emotions not ranked very highly.
Right. whereas you're able to create anew and invent yourself and relearn or not relearn, to continue learning and growing, because you don't have that that switch in you that would destroy yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't have any attachment to the current, and I don't have any insecurities about change.
That's an important
Change
point.
is the norm for me. It'd be weird for me not to change. So everything I do, everything I learn, everything I study, especially in the computing industry, goes out of date every 18 months to 2 years.
Right.
So if I become attached to the past, I become obsolete. And that has been very
Interesting.
good training as well. Other folks, they've always been doing the same thing the same way for 20 years, and they're scared to try something new. I'd be scared not to try something new.
So how can we prepare ourselves for future things to come, and what is to come? What are some of the things that you think are going to
I'd say change.
just simply change?
Everything from prejudices to travel to being open-minded that the U.S. might not be the world's greatest superpower forever, that English might not be the language of business forever,
Right.
that our currencies might change, that how we work, where we work, how we commute to work, who we work for might all change. The concept of there even being a large corporation might change.
Wow.
And the concept that we need human beings to do a lot of things may change.
So what happens to all of us humans that need to work and earn money and be able to?
I think things may
Hey.
break into the old-fashioned class system. There'll be folks who tell the systems what to do, and there'll be folks where the systems tell them what to do. We're already there when you look in supermarkets and hotels and try and book your flight tickets and everything else, or go down to the bank. There are people there where they're only allowed to do what the computer lets them do.
Right.
And there's programmers elsewhere who are telling the computer what they will let the humans do. That is not going to go away. That's just going to spread.
Escalate. Fascinating, fascinating. I really thank you for taking time out. I know you're dealing a lot now with all big things going on in the world, and I just thank you for being here and really sitting with me here tonight.
Thanks.
It's
Good
great
question.
to see you. Yes, thank you.